starting from when I first started listening to Bigger Pockets and was like, hey, Jen, you should start to listen to this. I mean, that was, again, almost probably 8 years ago that we started that. And we love working together. We've always.
How are you able to juggle 5 kids and take care of this investment journey? How do you manage that?
Yeah, so I'll jump in here because I'm a huge proponent of block scheduling, and Thomas and I block schedule, and that starts early at 4:30 in the morning. We kind of have our morning, well, I do anyways, and kind of bring him into it. But and a lot of our real estate, actually, this is probably our biggest challenge, but it happens early in the morning before the kids get up, and then after they go to bed at night. And so sometimes we're kind of like, hey, do you guys want to network at 9 o'clock at night? We can't get a whole lot of interest in that, but that's okay, but a lot of it happens just when the kids are asleep. And I do feel like we have an infant again in terms of how much sleep we're getting, because we're tired a lot of the time, but we're willing to put in the time to accomplish some of our goals. So,
and may I ask how old your kids are?
So our oldest is 15 and our youngest is 7. So they're all about 2 years apart. And I work full time in the ag industry, and so both we treat it. Jen is full-time homeschooling and working with the kids. I'm full-time with my day job in agriculture. And so we really do, I think we're a good story of how you can do this multifamily investing with a W-2 with full-time work, and you can be very successful and even scale to large multifamily assets while working a full-time job. So that's one of the things that we're excited about.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you read Michael Blank's, the famous yellow book, right? The Financial Freedom with Real Estate Investing. Are there any other, avenues with Michael Blank that you joined in? Did you ever attend his Deal Maker Mastermind? Are you familiar with his analyzer, or was that, this golden book was enough just to get it started and you ran with it?
We're actually probably Michael Blank's biggest fans. So
Aren't we all?
Yeah.
So we read the book, and then I actually I do love spreadsheets and the numbers, and that's one of the things I really focus on. I've tried a few other spreadsheets and templates for underwriting, and then I found the SDA, and that was just a game changer. So we signed up for the SDA and started to underwrite properties with that. So at that point in our journey, we were realizing that what we really needed, especially having this on the side of all this other work we had going on, we really needed structure to hold us accountable to be able to meet the goals that we had. And that's when we decided to sign up for the mentorship, because we knew that if we put the money into the mentorship program, that would elevate the intensity by which we were going to go after making this happen. So in the evenings when it was hard to underwrite, it was hard to set the time aside when we were tired and we had other things going on, signing up for the mentorship actually gave us that accountability to ensure that we were going to put the time into making this happen. So we did. So once we signed up for the mentorship, we've been a part of the mastermind, the mentorship program, really engaged in the rest of the education that Michael Blank offers. And we've just found it incredibly successful and helpful for us. We did close on our first property this last summer, so it was about 8 or 9 months into our mentorship. We got 136 unit property closed, so that was way bigger than we ever imagined we could do, and that was largely due to all the resources and connections that we made through the program. So we highly recommend Michael Blank's program. We love his philosophy. We love how he incorporates his family into his business. His faith journey is aligned with our faith journey in terms of pursuing this as Christians and wanting to really make a difference beyond just the real estate investing. So for all those reasons, we really like his platform.
Yep.
So I'm glad you brought up your first property, because that was my next question. It's a great segue in. So tell me about, everybody says, your first deal one is the most difficult. It's so hard. However, the law of the first deal, right? The rest of them kind of come like clockwork. So tell our audience what that was like for you guys, with your first deal, the pros and the cons, and how has your life changed since then, now trying to go on to the next deal?
I think, well, because under the Michael Blanc mentorship program, we were working one-on-one with a mentor, and that was so valuable and important because you're underwriting these really large numbers, and we were familiar with how rental properties worked and the numbers, and Thomas really goes after that well. But there's a lot of zeros behind the type of properties that we were underwriting, and so to have to work alongside a mentor, to have him oversee kind of what we were coming up with in terms of our underwriting and how we were processing things was just incredibly valuable. So that was huge, and I'm not sure. I don't think we would have put in some of those letters of intent to purchase a property without having the guidance of a mentor, just because you're raising a lot of money and it's not your money. And so you have a fiduciary responsibility to know what you're doing and to make sure that the numbers are accurate. And so your projections are good projections. So, and based on facts and data. So that was very valuable. And so and yes, things have changed. We were reaching out to brokers consistently before, and now, we're getting phone calls from brokers. That there was just a couple properties this last week that we got a phone call about, and we would have had to reach out and find those opportunities before, but we are getting phone calls. We are a viable buyer now. And so that's been kind of cool. It's been neat. So, but the mindset really did have to shift that we can do this. We can do large properties. Partnering is huge. Thomas didn't mention, but we did partner with other syndicators that had more experience than us. That is key to doing larger deals if you're going to go that route. So, partnerships are huge. So networking, partnerships, and all of that that's looking the same. We're doing the same exact things that we were before, just continuing to do that, and now being seen in the industry as a viable buy, as people that can close. So
that's huge. So I'm going to rewind really quick. You had mentioned how structure was so important, and I completely agree. So are there any tools that you would recommend that helped you guys with structure, whether when you're managing a family and you're managing, full-time jobs and you're syndicating and your partnership, what type of tools helped your success?
Yeah, that's probably, we read a few years ago, what was the book? The Miracle Morning, yes.
What was it?
I should remember that. But we read Miracle Morning, and
Miracle
it's been
Morning.
something that we've been working on for years, to develop a morning routine where we get up early and we're able to get quite a bit of work done before the normal day starts, before Jen starts getting ready for the school day, before I leave and go work at my W-2. So it's been incredibly helpful for us to carve that time out, and it's easier for us to get more work done in the morning than it is at night. A lot of times it just seems like it's harder to dive into underwriting it in the evening.
Yeah, it really sets the trajectory of the day. And then actually something that I started at the beginning of 2020, I believe it was 2020, was we said that we would do small, consistent action each day. So something every single day towards working towards our larger goals, even our short-term goals and then long-term goals. And then also I said that every week I would make one difficult phone call. And that was huge. That little thing was huge in just getting me over the hump of being uncomfortable, talking to people about things that, or asking questions that I thought were silly questions. I'm always telling my kids there are no silly questions, you need to ask them. But then I needed to practice what I preach. And I needed to get on the phone with lenders and brokers and just get over that hump. It's become so much easier. Now we probably make difficult phone calls all the time, but just making one difficult phone. And a lot of times it was Friday at 3:00, but that's okay. It had to
People are like checked out.
Yes, that one difficult phone call. So just small, consistent action and getting uncomfortable once a week or once a day. I think those consistent steps is really, really what propelled us forward, along with having a morning routine that was consistent. And he is my business partner. So we were making sure that we meet every morning to talk about, the things that we need to get done that week.
And I'm glad you guys are like, you're my vibe. You're just flowing, because that was my next question, because you guys are a couple. There's only been one other couple. And the dynamic is so huge that you have your spouse, your partner on the same page. So it's kind of a two-part question. One, how did you guys both get on the same page to ensure you were rowing in the same direction? And two, how do you ensure that you guys are supporting each other and kind of, you know, when someone needs a timeout or hey, tag, you know, how is your communication as a couple, and how has that contributed to your success doing this together? Pros and cons, good, bad, and ugly. Let's hear it.
So
Pretend I'm Oprah. No, I'm just kidding.
Throughout the whole real estate journey, we've been doing this together. It starting from when I first started listening to Bigger Pockets and was like, hey, Jen, you should start to listen to this. I mean, that was, again, almost probably 8 years ago that we started that. And we love working together. We've always had a passion about, you know, building a business together that could be a blessing to our family, could be a blessing to others, giving back to our community. So that's something that we've shared a vision for. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is that we have a foundation, and ours is our foundation of faith that roots us in a way that we can resolve. We have that foundation that we can resolve arguments. We can be reflective and come back to each other and work on forgiving each other. That's probably the biggest. Sorry, our equipment is falling apart. It's probably the biggest thing that I would say is learning to forgive one another, and then to be self-reflective. So what am I contributing? What am I doing to contribute to the conflict that's happening? Because when you do start a business, you bring all these new elements into a relationship that you didn't have before. And there's been challenges that I don't know we would have had to overcome, or they might have looked different if we weren't in business together. And so it's really important to have those core elements of forgiveness and self-reflection at the heart of your marriage, or else there's going to be problems that arise. And that's how we've been able to work through the challenges. And I think it's helped our marriage grow in a lot of ways that we might not have had those same challenges or those same things we needed to overcome. Anything you want to add to that?
Well, I think what he said was great. A lot of times we'll just take, if there's a disagreement, we'll take a break from each other and really be reflective on how we could have communicated that better. And a lot of times when we just think about how we could have communicated that better, we just are able to resolve things, I guess. And I'm kind of a driver, and I do not like to waste time. And I know that we are not productive if we are in an argument. So I'm like, let's get this done. Let's get this over with. You know, it's not inauthentic. I am very sorry. A lot of times it's my mistake, because he's got so much. He's just very calm and steady, and I need that. We have very complementary skill sets. However, I do want to move forward, and I know we cannot produce, and there can't be productivity if we're in this argument.